Welcome back to Agriculture Form 2. We're still on topic 2, where we are discussing on soil fertility. Remember, last time we looked onto details in terms of soil fertility, the meaning. We looked on the meaning of soil fertility. Apart from that, we also looked on the difference between the soil which is fertile and the soil which is infertile. Apart from that, we also looked on the ways through which soil fertility can be maintained or improved. So remember, on one of the ways through which soil fertility can be maintained or improved is through application of fertilizer. So now we're proceeding just by looking on types of fertilizer. So on this lesson, of course, we will classify fertilizers. We are going to classify the fertilizers, and apart from that, we are going to discuss on the advantages and disadvantages of organic and inorganic fertilizers. And we are also going to look on the characteristics of those classified fertilizers. So be with me. Let us now start with the classification of these fertilizers. Fertilizers are basically classified into two categories. We have this category which we call organic fertilizers, some they call organic manure, and then we have this other category, inorganic fertilizers, other people they call artificial or chemical fertilizers. So under organic fertilizers or manure, of the fertilizers which are prepared from animal and plant remains. These are the fertilizers or the manure prepared from plants and animals. That's why the other name for organic fertilizers is also called organic manure. So they are added to the soil to supply plant nutrients, thereby maintaining soil fertility or improving soil fertility. So what are the characteristics of organic fertilizers? Some of the characteristics of organic fertilizers are as follows. They have low nutrient value per unit volume. Let's say 50 kg of organic fertilizers, the amount of nutrients, they are a little bit low. Apart from that, they release nutrients very slowly. Once you have applied the organic fertilizers, they start to release the nutrients. It will take time for them to start releasing the nutrients. Apart from that, they are rich in many plant nutrients. So you are in organic manure, you find varieties of plant nutrients. Apart from that, they are bulky and hence cumbersome to transport and apply. So these ones, they are heavy. They are very, very heavy, making it difficult when it comes to transporting and applying. Apart from that, they have few negative effects, even if used over a long period of time. So they have negative effects. In other words, we can just say they are environmental friendly. Let us now classify these organic fertilizers further. They are, remember in Form 1, we classified these organic fertilizers into 3, as organic manure, farmyard manure, as well as compost manure. So in Form 1, we described green manure as those manure made from green plants. They are made from green plants. While farmyard manure, we describe them as manure made from mixture of animal waste and their beddings. While compost manure, we described that these are type of manure made from kitchen waste and organic materials such as hedges. So, what are the advantages and disadvantages of these organic fertilizers? Let us start with the advantages. The first advantage is that they are cheap. Why? Because they are locally available. They are made from locally available materials, making them cheap. And also, they help to bind the soil particles together. Once you apply those organic fertilizers, at least they have the binding effect, thereby improving soil structure. Apart from that, they improve the water holding capacity of the soil. Since they have the binding effect, thereby they will improve the water holding capacity of the soil. And also, they supply a variety of essential nutrients. As per its characteristic, we already mentioned that they comprise of variety of essential nutrients. So that's the advantage part of organic fertilizers. Apart from that, they have a long residual effect, meaning they can supply nutrients for a long period after application. Let's say you have applied organic fertilizers this growing season, next growing season the effect will still be there, meaning some of the nutrients will still be there. Another advantage is that they encourage activities of soil microorganisms. So they create a conducive environment for microorganisms. Why? Because they provide food and shelter to the organisms, hence increasing their activity. Apart from that, they help to buffer soil pH. Most of the times, organic manure, they are neutral. They are neither too acidic nor too alkaline. So they will help to buffer soil pH. Apart from that, they help to moderate temperature. They will help to moderate temperature. And also, they do not require special skills to prepare and apply. Though there is a long list of importances or advantages of organic manure, but they also have some disadvantages. So let us look on some of the disadvantages of organic fertilizers. Number one, they are baggy, meaning they are too heavy when it comes to apply and transport, making them to be expensive. Apart from that, they have a low level of nutrient per unit weight. Let's say if you have a 50 kg of organic fertilizer, you have less amount of nutrients in there. Apart from that, they take long to release the nutrients as they must undergo complete decomposition. Yeah, so more especially the organic fertilizers which are not fully decomposed, they are slow, or it will take a long period of time for them to start releasing nutrients for the plant use. Apart from that, they can introduce weeds to the field. Since we're saying that these manure or these fertilizers are prepared from plant remains, sometimes those plant remains, if they are not fully decomposed, they may grow as well, thereby introducing the weeds to the field. Apart from that, they can cause fungal infection or scorch the plants if not well decomposed, more especially the droppings from animals. Apart from that, they require a lot of labor to prepare. And they also were saying they are bulky if they are too heavy, thereby becomes laborious when it comes to preparing the heavy materials. Let us now look on another category of fertilizers, which is inorganic fertilizers. These inorganic fertilizers, they are also called chemical fertilizers or artificial fertilizers or man-made fertilizers. So these fertilizers, we can classify them. We can classify these inorganic fertilizers. So there are two bases through which we can classify these inorganic fertilizers. We can classify the inorganic fertilizers depending on their nutrient composition. We can also classify inorganic fertilizers depending on reaction with the soil. So now let us classify these fertilizers depending on their nutrient composition. Under nutrient composition, we can classify these fertilizers just into two, as straight or compound fertilizers. So fertilizers are classified as straight or compound fertilizers on the basis of their nutrient composition. So what are these straight fertilizers? We are talking of those fertilizers which contain only one of the three primary macronutrients. Remember in Form 1, we discussed that we have two categories of plant nutrients, macronutrients and micronutrients. So under macronutrients, we can further categorize them into two, as primary macronutrients and secondary macronutrients. So on primary macronutrients, we have nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. Nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. So we are saying straight fertilizers, we are talking of those fertilizers which contain only one of the three primary macronutrients. If the fertilizer will contain only nitrogen and the other nutrients, that's a straight fertilizer. Apart from if it only contains nitrogen, apart from phosphorus and potassium, it means that's a straight fertilizer. If in that fertilizer we can only find phosphorus and there is no nitrogen, potassium, but there are other nutrients, still more we regard it as a straight fertilizer. The same applies the fertilizers which are containing with potassium without phosphorus, nitrogen, but containing maybe other nutrients. That is also regarded as straight fertilizer. So these are some of the examples of straight fertilizers which will only contain one of the three primary macronutrients. For example, we have sulfate of ammonia. This one contains nitrogen as the primary macronutrient. Even though there is sulfur, sulfur is not in the category of the primary macronutrient, but only nitrogen is under the category of primary macronutrient. So just because there is only nitrogen in this fertilizer amongst the three primary macronutrients, it is regarded as a straight fertilizer. The same applies ammonia nitrate, there is nitrogen in there. Can, there is also nitrogen, though there is calcium, but there is only one primary macronutrient, which is nitrogen. The same applies urea, there is only nitrogen. Then we have single superphosphate, there is only phosphate. Double superphosphate, there is only phosphorus. Then we have muriate of potash, there is only potassium. Potassium sulfate or sulfate of potash, there is only potassium. So these fertilizers, just because they are containing only one primary macronutrients, they are regarded as a straight fertilizer. While on the other hand, compound fertilizers, we are talking of the fertilizers which contains 2 or 3 of the primary macronutrients. If in that type of fertilizer there is nitrogen, phosphorus, in the same type of fertilizer, it is regarded as compound fertilizer. Or there is nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, it is regarded as compound fertilizers. So in short, we are saying compound fertilizers, they contain 2 or 3 of the primary macronutrients. So when the compound fertilizers contain only 2 primary elements, they are referred as to incomplete compound fertilizers. But those which contains all the 3, they are regarded as complete. So examples of those with only 2 primary elements, we have 1847 0, 2020 0, 2321 0. These are incomplete. If the fertilizer contains all the 3 primary elements NPK, it is referred to as complete compound fertilizers. So we have examples like 20, 10, 10, 17, 17, 17, 15, 15, 15, 2, 18, 15. Those are names of fertilizers. So the complete examples are listed here. We have 17, 17, 17, 11, 54, 0, 15, 50, 0, 15, 45, 0. That's the type name of compound fertilizer. 6, 18, 6. The other name we call it compound S. Then we have DAP. They are gray in color, and they have the grade of 1847-8, and is usually applied at planting time. So it has acid-inducing effects, of course. Then we also have the grade of fertilizer, namely 23, 21, 0, 2, 18, 15. This is termed as compound A. 4, 18, 15, termed as compound B. 8, 18, 6, termed as compound C. So you might tend to wonder, what are these figures? Remember, we're saying fertilizer containing 3 primary elements, e.g. compound S, like 6, 18, 6. These numbers represent the 3 primary major elements as already indicated. So the first, the numbers like 6, 18, 6 represents nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium percentage respectively. It means in the compound S, that fertilizer has 6% nitrogen, 18% phosphorus, then 6% potassium. So for example, in a 50 kg bag of compound S, which is 6, 18, 60, 6% of 50 kg, which is only 3 kg, is part of nitrogen. And also 18% of 50 kg, which if you can calculate, it is coming up to 9 kg, is part of phosphorus. And the last 6%, which is 3 kg of the 50 kg, is part of potassium. So it means in a 50 kg bag, according to this example of compound S, 6, 18, 6, you only have 3 kg nitrogen, 9 kg phosphorus, and 3 kg potassium. So sometimes you may tend to wonder, why is the bag 50 kg if we are saying that nitrogen is only 3 kg, phosphorus 9 kg, and potassium 3 kg. It means in terms of weight of the nutrients is only 3 plus 9 plus 3, which is coming up to 15 kgs. So 15 kgs is the weight of the nutrients. The rest the rest kgs, like 35 kgs out of 50 kg, they are just trash. We can also classify the fertilizers, inorganic fertilizers, depending on reaction with the soil. So fertilizers can be classified on the basis of their reaction with the soil. So they can either be acidic, basic, or neutral. Acidic fertilizers are those which increase the acidity or lower pH of the soil. We have good example of sulfate of ammonia. These ones, they are acidic in nature. So we can classify the fertilizers, inorganic fertilizers, depending on the reaction with the soil. If they are applied to the soil, they will make the soil to be acidic. They are classified as acidic fertilizers. While if we apply the fertilizers and they will make the soil to be alkaline, they are classified as basic fertilizers. So basic fertilizers are those which will reduce acidity or raise the pH of the soil. So we have good example of can. Can is a basic fertilizer. Then we also have neutral fertilizers. These fertilizers neither raise nor lower the soil pH, so they do not have effect in terms of they do not affect the acidity of the soil. We have good examples of phosphatic fertilizers, for example, superphosphate fertilizers. They do not have impact in terms of changing the soil to be acidic or alkaline. So what are the advantages and disadvantages of these inorganic fertilizers? Let's start with the advantages. Number one, they are less bulky, hence cheap to apply and transport. Inorganic fertilizers or chemical fertilizers, most of the times they are not that heavy. They are not that heavy, making them cheap to apply as well as transport. Apart from that, they can contain high levels of nutrient per unit weight. If we can compare with the organic fertilizers and inorganic fertilizers, let's say per unit weight, we talk of, let's say, 100 per 100 kg. 100 kg of organic fertilizers will contain low level of nutrients, but 100 kg of inorganic fertilizers will contain high levels of nutrients. Apart from that, they readily release nutrients once applied. Once you apply, they fast release the nutrients. So they are fast in terms of release of nutrients. What about the disadvantages? These chemical fertilizers, they are very expensive to buy. As of now, this is 1 January 2023, these fertilizers, they are in the range between 75,000 kwacha, 50 kg, to 109,000 kwacha, a 50 kg bag. So they are very, very expensive. Apart from that, they only supply particular nutrients. Remember, we were mentioning of straight fertilizer. In a straight fertilizer, it means there is only one primary major nutrient. So they do not have, they do not supply various nutrients, but rather supply only specific or particular nutrients. Apart from that, they have a short residual effect. Once you apply this growing season, you are expected to apply again next growing season, just because they will not stay for a long period of time, or the impact will not be for long. Apart from that, they require special skills to store, to handle, as well as even to formulate. So these ones, they will require special skills when it comes to keeping them, handling them, as well as even making them or formulating them. Unfortunately, they may alter soil pH. There are some of the, if they are applied for a long period of time. Remember, there are some of the fertilizers which we have classified as acidic fertilizers. So those acidic fertilizers, if applied for a long period of time, they may change the soil pH. If it was a neutral one, if you have applied acidic fertilizers for too long, it means the soil will change from neutral to acidic. Apart from that, may be harmful to crops if applied in excess. Remember, too much can be poisonous sometimes. So these chemical fertilizers, if applied in excess, they may be toxic to crop. Apart from that, some may inhibit the activities of soil microorganisms. We are talking of the chemicals which are formulated here. So those chemicals, they may not provide a conducive environment for microorganisms. Let us now take note on the differences between organic and inorganic manure. So out of what we have discussed, we can make a short summary in terms of the difference between organic and inorganic manures. The first difference is that organic manure, they originate from plant and animal remains, while inorganic manure, they are artificially prepared. Apart from that, organic manure have low levels of nutrient per unit weight, while we expect a high level of nutrient per unit weight in inorganic manure. They release the nutrients slowly as they require time to decompose. That's organic manure. But for inorganic manure, they readily release the nutrients for plant use. Organic manure, they are bulky, hence difficult to transport, store, and apply. While inorganic manure, they are less bulky, hence easy to transport, store, and apply. Organic manure also help to moderate the soil temperature. They have no effect on soil temperature. That's the inorganic fertilizers. Organic fertilizers increase microbial activity as they serve as shelter and food for microorganisms. On the other hand, inorganic fertilizers may inhibit the activities of soil organisms, as the chemicals used, they may kill the microorganisms. Organic manure buffer the soil pH. On the other hand, inorganic manure, they may increase or decrease the soil pH depending on their pH. Apart from that, they improve organic manure improve the soil structure as humus binds the soil particles together. While inorganic manure, most of them have no effect on the soil structure except those with liming effect like can. Apart from that, organic manure, they are not readily leached as nutrients are released slowly. But on the other hand, inorganic fertilizers, they are readily leached, especially those that are highly soluble in water. Organic manure also can be applied in large quantities without risk of crop damage, but excessive application of inorganic fertilizers may be injurious to crops. Organic fertilizers may be a source of weed seeds, but on the other hand, it is impossible for the weeds to appear in inorganic fertilizers. Lastly, some of organic fertilizers may cause tainting of pastures, while the inorganic fertilizers do not tent pastures. So that is it in terms of types of fertilizers. So in terms of the practical work, what we can do is for us to try grow the vegetables in 2 different plots in the school garden. In one plot, apply appropriate and adequate manure and fertilizers, while the other do not apply any fertilizer or organic manure. So you observe what happens. Provide similar treatments in the 2 plots. Apart from applying and not applying fertilizers, but other treatments should be similar in terms of weeding, in terms of watering, so on and so forth. Apart from that, once you are done, it is important to note the difference in growth rate and plant vigor in the 2 plots, where you applied fertilizer and where you did not apply fertilizer. Apart from this practical activity, I also need you to answer the following questions. Number 1, state the 2 types of fertilizer. Give 4 characteristics of organic fertilizer. State the types of organic fertilizers. Outline 4 factors that influence the quality of farmyard manure. List 4 characteristics of inorganic fertilizers, and state the advantages and disadvantages of inorganic fertilizers. So that makes the end of the lesson, our today's lesson, and also makes the end of topic 2, which was soil fertility. As of now, I think you are able to define what soil fertility is. You are also able to differentiate fertile and infertile soil. You are also able to find out on the ways which will help to maintain soil fertility. You are also able at least to classify fertilizers into 2, as organic as well as inorganic, and giving the examples under each. And the most important thing is for you also to know the characteristics of organic and inorganic fertilizers, not forgetting their advantages and disadvantages. So next time we'll discuss on another topic, which is topic 3. This is agriculture and climate change. So we're going to look on the correlation or the relationship between agriculture and climate change. So that's our next lesson. As for now, goodbye.